can tell this is going to be a good episode.
I mean, do you say that before all your episodes?
What's up, friends? Welcome to The Beautiful Mess. I'm here with a very special guest, and we'll be discussing how to use tools and tactics to improve your life. My guest today is Ryan Beck. He was on the last episode, and I'm super excited to have him back on to talk about, well, I'll give him one more rapid fire question because that was fun. Okay, Ryan Beck, coffee or tea?
I drink both, man. Coffee in the morning, tea in the afternoon.
Okay, we're like-minded. I've got my tea right here. What kind of tea?
I get spoiled. Tea is a thing that people get me for Christmas, so I usually prefer like a nice sweet something or another. But I usually go black tea. My brother, in fact, just got me like a whole tea set, like this. It has like a dragon on the side of it. It's really nerdy. But you like put it on the stove and it's got like these small teacups. I haven't used it yet because it's kind of intimidating, but yeah, I have every year, or for the last 2 years, my wife has given me some really nice tea from somewhere, and there's usually, I don't know, it's usually black tea with a little something sweet mixed in there.
Wow. I am impressed. I was not expecting that you are such a tea connoisseur to have.
I wouldn't even call myself that, but like, I don't know. I've just been drinking tea for the last 2 years. It's been a nice afternoon, especially as it gets cold. Nice afternoon treat, I should say.
Yes. And what about coffee? How do you like your coffee?
Black. That's
black.
Yeah. I don't put anything in it. It's just a waste of time. I'm a minimalist. I think we established that in the last episode, right?
Actually, we didn't talk about it in episode. We talked about that before the episode.
That's right.
So
that's right.
You live out your minimalist life by wearing 3 shirts, right? That was what you're saying?
Yeah, I've got 3 of the same shirts. There's a couple other shirts that I have, but I'm slowly migrating to 1 shirt, 1 color. It's pretty nice. And then, yeah, just cut out all the cream and sugar of my life. Whether that's with coffee or as a metaphor for anything else, you know. It's not needed.
This brings back memories. So you were on kitchen staff way back in the day when we did. So Ryan and I go way back again. Like we went 2013, we determined. And so what is that? 9 years?
9 years ago, man.
If my math is correct. Coming up on 9 years. Crazy. But we had a lot of fun going across the country, leading these summer teen camps. And it was a summer filled with Uncrustables. I think we did Mario Karts. We did like a makeshift Mario Kart. That was a lot of fun.
I want to tell your audience my Paul story here. Since we're recording officially, you can cut this out if you want, but this is my memory of you, Paul, and this is what came to my mind when you reached out to me on the Twitterverse. A couple weeks ago, and we haven't talked in a while, but this is the thing that came to my mind. So yeah, Paul was describing a camp that we worked for, and we were one team of several, and we would go out to these different cities and we would put on these service camps for these organizations. But, the team itself is a really great group of people to be willing to like give up your summer to put on these service camp organizations. And so you're also friends typically, if you've done this for multiple years, with like other teams. And so teams talk to each other as they're traveling around. And our team leader had the idea to have like these eating contests like against other teams. So our team 2, like I think, yeah, we were team number, and then like we challenged this other team number to like a pickle eating contest. And I was horrified. I didn't want to eat pickles. I hate pickles. I don't like pickles. I'm not a pickle eater. I always ask them off my burger or whatever. But I was going to do it for the team. And I thought I would just eat like 1 pickle, but no, our team leader brought this like huge jar of pickles, and these pickles
were 5 gallons.
Yeah, and they were massive. They were massive pickles. So like they say ready, set, go, and I'm like muscling my way through this pickle, and I'm like, I can't bring the vinegar. I just couldn't bring myself to like eat it. And I think we lost or something, Paul and I on our team. But like as I'm like struggling to like down this pickle, I look up and I see Paul drinking the 5-gallon jar of the pickle juice, and he may as well have thrown it down on the the ground and just roar, that sort of thing. But like, I'm never going to forget that image of like in the dead of night after the campers have been asleep. Here we are in a pickle eating contest, and Paul is our anchor, and he's getting rid of the juice to really shove it in the faces of the other team. Yes,
we won that. We won that. 100%. I made sure
we earned it.
I enjoyed every moment of eating those pickles, by the way. I mean, and drinking that pickle juice. I don't know. It was. Oh man, I'm glad you brought that memory up. And then I remember you doing some pretty groovy dance dares, like where you like so every week we do these videos, and actually I was the media manager, so I was very much involved in editing these videos, but we had like these little fun team video like credits, and each week we do something different. And one week we did like a dance dare, we do like shaky face, like all these like hilarious break through like a wall of boxes. That was kind of fun.
Oh yeah, that's true.
There were a lot. And then, okay, so my memory that stood out when Sir Ryan Beck contacted me on the Twitter was the Capri Sun Challenge.
Oh man.
I still have that video, I think, on somewhere in the interwebs. I don't think it's like public, but I have it. And I think it was like 10 minutes of you explaining the Capri Challenge. And by the way,
I would do.
Like, don't do it. That's my word of advice. Don't do it. But maybe for those that don't know, if you wouldn't mind explaining what that is.
I don't think I can reach back into my memory banks in 9 years. What is the Capri Sun Challenge? You have to do like so many in such a minute or something like that?
Yes. I mean, you knew it. I mean, like if I could pull up the audio of it, like you were explaining it. I think it was like
time.
You had to drink 10 or something like that without throwing up.
Oh, man.
It was a terrible.
Yeah.
Well, only at camp. I mean,
only at summer camp.
Don't recommend it, but
nope.
That was the memory that came up to me.
That's great. Well, shoot, Paul, what did you bring me back on this podcast for?
I know, right? I mean, because of your beautiful face. Again, if you're listening to this podcast, make sure you go to YouTube or Spotify to see Ryan Beck. Yeah, he's the reason why this podcast looks so great. So there's a couple things. So first of all, like, do you want to give the listeners like maybe a little bit of your background? Because like you're getting into this creative field. Like, have you always been interested in the creative field, or is this something that you recently decided like, I'm going to do it?
No, I recently decided to kind of throw away my inhibitions, I guess. But I'd say it's been probably a journey now at this point. No, I've always wanted to create. You know, I was a music major in college. I surrounded myself with a lot of creative people. Yeah, I was a music major in college.
No.
I played the drums
You too?
on our camp, right? So I think that was a big reason for it. Yeah,
That's crazy. I didn't know.
Yeah. I was a music major in college. So I was always surrounded by, lots of different creative people. And, I was a podcast junkie for a while. I like listened to a ton of podcasts, just hours and hours of podcasts. Just always felt like that was something that I could do. It never really seemed very far away, but, the excuses are that like, life happens or, I just don't have time or that sort of thing. I thought that to sort of be my story. So I sort of fell into, you start getting a career and a family and that sort of thing. And at some point, I don't know what had happened. Actually, I'll tell you, over like a winter, I had like a week off for winter for Christmas or something. It was, when businesses are all shut down, that sort of thing. I read the book East of Eden in like a week. And I like finished that book alone at the dead of night or whatever. And it's just a really good book. It's an American classic for a reason. John Steinbeck's East of Eden. There's a great message in that book, whatever. But anyway, that was a changing moment. It was the beginning of the year. And I was like, you know what? I really want to start reading books or just reading more books. And the more and more I read, I kind of fell into like the self-help genre, read some fiction and that sort of thing, but started gravitating towards creators and people that are sort of doing things and putting stuff out there. And that was really enough to sort of, I don't know, kick me in the butt to actually like really start making something. Now I'm still on this journey. I would say I'm still kind of trying to figure it out. But my latest attempt is that I've signed up for this cohort-based learning community called Ship 30 for 30.
Okay. You're going to have to tell me about this because I've seen a lot about Ship 30. There's actually a creator. I don't know if you know this creator, but Matt Ragland. He's a YouTuber, and he, I think, talks about Ship 30 for 30 or has his own version of that. And it's something that's been intriguing. Like, what is it? Is it something that you create? Like, you're committed to creating something for 30 days? Like, what is the Ship 30 for 30?
It's kind of been the answer to what I've been seeking out. So, yeah, I've attempted to make podcasts. I've attempted to make YouTube videos. I have a YouTube channel. I'm still kind of exploring that and how to do that. I have all the equipment. It's easy to buy equipment. It's hard to produce. It's hard to produce something of good quality, right? Ira Glass, I think about this quote a lot, has this quote where like, you have good taste. You have impeccable taste, but you suck at what you make, right? And that in of itself is really hard. It's a hard sort of gap to overcome. And the way that you do that is to just create. Like you just need to create. You need to fill this huge chasm of self-doubt, right? With like the junk that you create, fill it up so that you can cross it and get over to the other side. There can be a lot of resistance to like making a decent YouTube video when like you know what looks good and you know what is cringeworthy, right? I think that was sort of my plight for a while. Is I tried to make all these things, podcasts or that sort of stuff. I did a lot of research, but it just got overwhelmed by the amount of time like a good quality piece would take me to create and produce. So I found this community, Ship 30 for 30, and it really, really shrinks like what you're trying to do. And the idea behind it is just that just right. There's probably, as far as like a form of production, as far as a form of publication, like text is really the smallest kind of common denominator of all of those things. So one, it's a great skill to build, to write, right? And to get in the habit of writing. And two, like it's almost effortless to go from like creating to publishing. So the idea behind Ship 30 for 30 is that you are shipping 30 atomic small essays over the course of 30 days to one, focus on the habit of producing, creating, writing, and publishing and putting it out there and kind of figuring out. It's the backbone of it is this sort of philosophy of you don't really know what is good until you start making things. And then after you've created this sort of like amount of content, you can begin to look at it sort of in like a scientific lens of like, okay, this did well. This got a lot of likes. This didn't so much. But I really like writing about this. And this didn't get a lot of likes, but it was really effortless for me to put this out, to write that. Like I got into the state of flow to be able to produce this piece. And it's something that's near and dear to my heart. So I'm going to explore this piece for a little bit and still maintaining that sort of habit of writing. So yeah, you're catching me, Paul, in the midst of this, of I'm trying to produce what I write. And it's probably like the most consistent thing that I've done as far as like a creative endeavor for a while. And there's lots of great benefits to it. Like I'm solidifying my ideas. I'm sort of growing my digital garden. And I'm actually like, vocalizing and I'm not just in my head, but I'm actually crystallizing some of these ideas and thoughts that I've gotten since starting my reading journey, all those years ago when I read East of Eden and had a great experience from that. Wow. So here I am.
Wow. Gold nuggets right there. Make sure you go back, play that at like halftime speed, and make sure you get all of it. That's good stuff, man. Wow. You made me think of a couple of things. It's interesting. It seems like it's quantity, over quality, and they've done studies. I'm sure they talk about it in your Ship 30. I don't know, but like where when you focus on quantity, you produce better results. So they had this photography class and they told some of them just take as many photos. And then they had another group where it's like, take the best photo. And what ended up happening was those that, focused on just taking a lot of pictures ended up with better pictures. I think they found the same thing with like pottery, those that made more ended up doing better than those that are like focused on just like getting that right. And I think that's usually the hurdle that a lot of people deal with is like, I can't get started. Like, what are other people going to think if it's imperfect or like it's not quite right? So I think it's very freeing when you're just like, I'm just going to put out the content. The same thing with this podcast, even like I've learned so much each time I put out an episode. And I just feel like by episode 100, hopefully by then I'll have like the system down and, it'll be a great podcast by then, hopefully. Who knows? But it's definitely worth the journey. I mean, it's such a good learning experience. And then the other thing I was going to ask you about this digital garden, that idea, it seems really interesting. I've never heard like someone refer to digital work as like a garden.
Yeah. So to expand upon that idea, it's this idea that I think I got from I want to say Austin Kleon, who wrote Steal Like an Artist, Keep Going, and Show Your Work. And I think it's in Show Your Work that he kind of talks this idea about planting these digital gardens. But it's this term that's been bouncing around or that I've seen. But yeah, it's that idea of it's a good way to kind of go about the internet. So I used to just sit back in my chair. I'd have my phone and I would just scroll. And there's all sorts of side effects that come from that. Like you're getting in a lot of information, but you're not really processing it or doing anything from it. So you get tired, like you're just overwhelmed. Sometimes, the algorithm, quote unquote, can start showing you things that are just like viral worthy or clickbait or that sort of thing that don't really produce a lot of value. When you start to produce, the act of writing, right, is really, it kind of forces you to get to some kind of logical conclusion or to some kind of complete idea, right? Like, I don't know, maybe it was 12 years of the American education system that just sort of forced me to think of like introduction, body, conclusion. Like, but if you're writing something and if you're putting something out there, you can't help but ask yourself, like, what's the point of this? And that act is really good for me personally, I'll say, because I have a lot of ideas, a lot of things are percolating up there, but I never really come to some sort of end to them. So a way that you can sort of approach the internet in a sort of a healthy way is kind of see it as a platform to plant your like digital garden, right? And so I'm creating tons of content over the course of the next 30 days, right? And I'm sort of planting these seeds out there, and I'm going to see what might happen to them. See how other people react, see what kind of other ideas are coming from them. And maybe I might, nurture those ideas a little bit more and just continue to plant and continue to grow. And eventually I've created this portfolio, if you will, to give it a boring term instead of digital gardens. But you've created this portfolio of work, of complete ideas that you could then do something with, or that other people can see and admire or contact you about, or that sort of thing. I think in a lot of ways, that's how we got reconnected. I started putting things out there, Paul, you, for whatever reason, I came on your radar. There's serendipity that happened from that. A lot of what I'm doing kind of clicks with your podcast and what you're doing here. And we've been able to make something that's, greater than the sum of its parts, right? We're kind of creating something new as our ideas sort of like mingle together. So that's sort of my approach, I guess, to healthy or digital health or good habits when it comes to using my phone or social media or whatever as a tool to do those things, a tool to that end, as opposed to purely for entertainment and consumption.
Love it. Wow. I mean, now I want to start tending my digital garden. I mean, that it goes well with fake IKEA plants.
Yeah.
Actually, this is not an IKEA plant. I do have an IKEA plant, but that's not one of them. Here you go.
It's not a real IKEA plant. There. I can tell. That one's real. That one's definitely from IKEA.
So in one of the Beautiful Mess episodes, we actually joke that we're sponsored by IKEA plants. You're not a real creator until you have an IKEA plant. So
no doubt.
Totally worth it. So make sure you grab your IKEA plant on your way out of the IKEA mart.
I'm definitely lacking in my IKEA plants for sure.
So hopefully next time Ryan's on the episode, you'll see a bunch of plants just like strewn across the back.
Yeah. Every time I talk, I'll be like kind of peeling away the vines, and then I'll go back to turn it over back to you.
I would enjoy that. Man. Okay. And then like, what was like the catalyst? Like, did you have to kind of accept messiness to start Ship 30? Because like, it seems like you were hesitant to like put your work out there. Like, what was that change that all of a sudden you're like, I'm going to put my work out there. I'm okay with that.
Man. That's a good question. I think I was inspired in a way. So being a parent is something that's pretty meaningful to me. I don't know. I get a lot of value out of being a parent and raising my kids along with my wife and that sort of thing. I feel like the intentional living, like the productivity sphere out there is sort of dominated by, young single people. And that's great. I think they have a lot to add. But I kind of wanted to throw my hat in the ring to kind of show from a parent perspective, one, to just connect to other parents, and two, to kind of prove it to myself that like, this is a good craft or this is a good way to spend my time, and I would rather be doing this than vegging or, again, like consumption. Like being able to produce something has been sort of my like call to action, if you will. So yeah, there's some messiness that comes from that, where like it is a commitment to try to publish something every day. You have to get in the habit of doing that, like create some sacred time. That's kind of a tenet of Ship 30 is, making space in your calendar that is sacred to you. I'm not here to say that my sacred time is more sacred than your sacred time, but at the same time, like it's very, very hard to like come up with that time. I basically have, an hour to myself a day if I'm, spending time with my kids and that sort of thing. So I think, that is sort of an obstacle to overcome. Is creating that time and being intentional with that time, and just being intentional with the things that I am doing with my time has been something that I've overcome. And I'm just not the best writer. I mean, not yet anyway. I like to think that I've got some nice complete ideas, but the thing that I'm proud of and the thing that kind of keeps me going is like, hey, I've put something out there and people are reacting to it. And it's all been very good feedback too. Nothing's been very negative or it's all been very positive. So I'm continuing to move forward with that in mind.
That's awesome. I think that maybe, who knows, your blog, your YouTube channel, you'll become the intentional dad, or I don't know, you'll come up with your own thing. But I totally see that as like a niche that needs to be filled, because like you're saying, a lot of productivity gurus or, just people that talk about how to live a meaningful life see it through a completely different lens. Mm-hmm. And I think your lens and perspective is very unique in your situation. So I definitely think that's worth sharing. Man, where does the time go? This is great. I love, we're going to have you back on, episode, whatever the next one is, but whenever. But hey, it's such a pleasure to have you on the podcast. Where can people find you?
Yeah, so feel free to follow and subscribe on my Twitter feed. That's really where I'm posting a lot of my atomic essays from Ship 30 for 30. I plan to be doing that for quite some time, and I'll post some additional thoughts about parenthood, productive living, intentional living, digital health, on that space. So my Twitter handle is at RYN_BCK. So Ryan Beck without the vowels. And then if you want to go even further, feel free to send me a direct message or subscribe to my newsletter, which can be found on my Twitter feed, as well as my regular website, which is ryanbeck.co. So look forward to having or connecting with any of your listeners, Paul, for sure.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ryan. Really appreciate it. And as always, I'd like to highlight one comment from our messy fam. So this one comes from Rich. It says, "Great work. I am just discovering this podcast, but it is really good. Thanksgiving you both for doing this." I'm guessing that's thanks both for doing this. But thanks, Rich, for the review, and welcome to the Messy Fam. If you want to join the Messy Fam, be sure to like, subscribe, follow, all that good stuff. Until next time, stay messy. Hardcover or softcover?
Kindle, man. Kindle.
Kindle? Why Kindle?
That's for another episode.
Join us next time for that.